Mother demanded from me during MK Ultra to communicate with her clothing with her. Um, Andrei Stefanic, the funny man from Novo Mesto police station, was the one that encouraged mother together with the police officer, in a parenthesis, police officer, Zajcek, and other criminals who gathered inside of this house, mostly inside of this kitchen. This is why I did this. Demanded from me to view a mother equivalent to police officer, also based on her clothing. I did told you about how they bitched me about if I would be bad with her, they would come after me, claiming me they considered her as their co-worker, partner. And this is just one example of the clothing a mother placed on display. But other than that, we had a whole week of the strange clothing with all kinds of I was trying to find, I couldn't. Next time I'm going to video record uzorci, I don't know how you say that. Blueprints, whatever you want to. That mother demanded from me to view her rather as a horrific person, as somebody who is, whenever she puts a certain clothing on her, is about to do something evil. Just like this, something that pertains to the evil, something that pertains to different issues. I know they discuss different issues, but this stuff all summarized in one, it had extremely evil common dot. It demanded from me attentiveness, paying close attention to, and she exampled this with acts of evil during MK Ultra, with police officers next to her who were gesturing me the scum garbage that I just mentioned right now, previously, also involved. Gesturing me, psychiatrist cops, gesturing me that police insisted me, not police, but garbage from Novo Mesto police station, dunk, not a police. I wanted to become a police officer my entire life. Gestured me that whenever she put, for the certain clothing, it was for the certain clothing that when she put certain clothing on, that it is equivalent, the guy said, Zajcek said, this is equivalent to my clothing, to the police clothing. You see, when she puts this on her, this is equivalent to the police clothing. With this here, she is a police officer. Yeah, this is how they communicated with me during MK Ultra, my mother did. My mother had a special way with a funny man, with a Stefanic, with a Andrei Stefanic. And I did describe here under visit to the father yesterday on July the 27th, 2025, how I was tortured in vicinity of the home for elderly people, and also in the parking lot and the property of the home for elderly people, for which director, non-existing director at that time, who wanted me to bring her on the picture because they needed the proofs about the schizophrenia in the future, insisted in front of me to police that she doesn't want any kind of violence on the property from the home for elderly people. So this is the Novo Mesto here. Under excuse of my visiting father, and as it appeared, my father staying inside of the home for elderly people, It appeared to me that he literally challenged people that were challenging him. They were challenging the police, saying to these people, I heard him on multiple occasions, that they have no proof that he is not staying at home for elderly people. They did have judges from Ljubljana whom they had all the certificates, everything prepared through the court. They had documentation about my father on the site, which they could use to prove during torture at home for elderly people, if people would meddle in it, if there would be, that's what I heard, a civil initiative that would take place against them, they could prove that my father was actually a resident at home for elderly people already sometimes in 2004, 2003. 2003. 2003, 2001, 2003. Yeah, that's very, very important stuff to catch. And so this is a home for elderly people here that you see this institution here. The torture went on the property, all over the property. There is a big parking lot right there that you can see. And so this is the area where I felt safer, simply because they would take me to the water where they would torture. They would take me to the dark alleys. They would preferably take me to the route right here, next to the stream. I am trying to position this here. That's not quite, made a mistake. This would be the area right here that you see that goes. Yeah, you would go here, then you would turn here, just like you see these guys. The home for elderly people is right here. This is a home for elderly people right here. And so you would come from this area down all the way. Then you would head here, but you cannot enter here. But this is a stream that goes here. And then there is green here, and there is a big factory, Renault. And so in the back of all this stuff, supposedly nobody could see this except the people that would be walking their dogs, going for the exercise and so on. Along this stream is where they tortured the most. This was the main torture location. And so because this parking lot at home for elderly people is so big, no. My father was only used for the purposes of police getting me killed. That's all there is. From this kind of point of view, when I consider this kind of stuff, this is the parking lot where I felt safe because it's whiter background, it's wider. I got to see people better, and they didn't dare so much to torture here because of possible views right there that you see, or through, there was torture here, intimidation, physical violence also was exercised here. More than anywhere on this property, physical violence, torture was exercised inside of this area that you see right there. This was since the earliest childhood, preferred location of Milan Kuchan, where he would do the torture with total madness obsession, involving all the cleaners, all the people that had ability to come here. And this was a madness. This was not even a torture, total madness. Madness. It's important to note, now, my father was a nobody. The stuff like this is done by the police. And the way this functions is, my father, who assisted police in this stuff, this is very, very ugly stuff here. Very, very ugly, right? I mean, this is extremely, extremely ugly stuff. This is so mentally sick that I don't want to bother myself this morning with this. Just going into discussion about this. It's too heavy for me because it equals to the mental illness. Like unprecedented violence is what I'm trying to say to you. This is unprecedented. This is the definition of unprecedented violence, upgraded with what became even labeled me as a mentally ill person in 2012. I don't know if you can upgrade violence more than that. Never heard for such a disgusting, violent case like this, yet they were upgrading the violence all my life. That's what they were doing. When they toned down somewhat physical violence, only somewhat, which they did not, is when they threw me in psychiatric hospital in 2012. And they do this kind of stuff to get rid of you, because the psychiatric pills and extra torture that is done on the side anyways. From the environment, from this environment here, however, they toned down. So they cut certain elements for which they knew I would be talking about based on the past, out of the violence. And they keep other channels completely open for the violence and have substituted violence from here with the psychiatric abuse, with torture, psychiatric, inside of the psychiatric hospital, outside of the psychiatric hospital, psychiatric pills that were killing me right there in the plain daylight in front of the people involved. It's important to note that my mother would appear with the police and she would come with my niece as an observer. And she got into my face repeatedly and would be laughing in my face. Like, wow, how well you're doing. Like, in a sense, like, wow, you're like, I have a plan. Like, this is my plan. They demanded for me to be seen as they video recorded themselves as if they were doing me a favor, as if they were doing the stuff based on my instructions. Something they were doing to help me out. That's how they wanted to portray the whole thing through the video recording themselves. And so my mother was one of those that would come and denigrate father in my eyes by gesturing, oh wow, that's your daddy basically. So that's how your daddy does. That's how your daddy does. In reality, when it comes to my mother, I was just using a new blender. This blender here, I have made video about it. Out of 3 blenders purchased, 2 were already broken, but sold as new. One was sold at Merkur, which is the biggest company in Slovenia when it comes to appliances. And the second one, the biggest and oldest, and the second one was sold in Hofer in Aldi, which is also a very known company throughout the Europe and even in the United States. I understand, yes, you do have stores, because I was even buying inside of those stores. Out of 3 brand new blenders, 2 already were broken, all sold as new. Recalled how they figure out during the poisoning, this is absolutely kidneys. They try to mislead me on other issues, but this is all about the kidneys. I know so because oats was not even beneficial for me as whole. It became beneficial for me once they purchased one that was melted. They were selling inside of the Hofer oats that was melted oats. And as I tried that, it helped me enormously to compensate in sleep, during the poisoning they were doing this stuff. And a little earlier I went on to realize, because I figure out, since I still have oats, but this oats is not melted, how the hell, grinded I should say, I figure out it would be best to use the coffee grinder, which I was going to use till I open it up, and then it became all too familiar to me, the stuff that I see here, and rusty, and more than anything, all scratched up, fucked up. Look at it. Because during MK Ultra, they were doing their best to remove the rust. And so this is what they were grinding me with, preparing me the food. Obviously, rusty, disgusting stuff. Till at least some people started to complain about this, and they had to substitute with this kind of stuff. And I will never forget the day I was the one who suggested. They made me see that it was rusty. That's how it works. And it was about the blenders and stuff. So that stuff must go sometimes to 2014, 2015 maybe. But I told them that that's how far. I told them that in that case, if you don't have this kind of stuff and then you use the blender to grind this stuff here, right? Just as I have done it here a little earlier, I just put the oats inside of the coffee cup like this, and I grinded it. It's perfectly perfect. We'll never forget the day when Robert Golob was grinding the stuff based on my instructions. Mother came home, and it was not once, it repeated on several occasions. Did not, not gonna say sympathize or be compassionate about it or side with me, did not. It's disgusting stuff. This is the lady who talked about how she ate the grass where there was no food and all kinds of stuff like this. She did not even privoshchiti, I don't know how you say that in English language, but when you wish somebody, she don't even wish me a fucking grinded oats. For all the poisoning, everything that was done, obviously, that's what they were rehearsing during MK Ultra. She did not even wish me. It was even to grind the fucking oats for her. It was a job too much. It was a job too far that others were doing with her precious fucking blender. I was using a new blender, and I have never done this before. Just realized that there is I don't know what the fuck is this here. Maybe the other older blender that she had works different. But I started to realize that something went on with this shit. Which they tried to cover up with completely other issues, such as gesturing me on how I was the one who was. There it is on the bottom that is all. This is dirty because this is my mother. That's how she wants. This is a big cup that I purchased in the store. And as soon as I purchased this cup, the cup was destroyed, just like scratched up on the bottom all around. And you can see it's not only on the bottom, that it's also on the side. She did not wish me. This is how Andrei Stefanich precalculated. Andrei Stefanich precalculated that he's going to get rid of me and my father by using my mother. Mother was definitely not used. By simply using my mother to turn me against father, and obviously mother was used. She did incite father into these issues to destroy me through the police. So the way you on one side, they incited father against me and were using him to present crime through eyes of my father against me. And on the other side, on the other hand, you had a mother that would come and pose with my niece, laughing in my face, asking in front of me, the police officers, about how is the progress to create this evil as possible picture about the father in my eyes. So this is how Andrei Stefanich, the funny man, tried to get the job done, using my mother, using me, and using my father, basically for us to kill one another. That's how that stuff was done. So I thought that this would be interesting to post on the video. Definitely it's important, but it's also interesting. If you do have problems with the kidneys, I suggest you to grind with a mixer. With a mixer, based on what I see here, I didn't have even capacity to. There's no way you can possibly damage the cup, because it's this thing here that protects the grinder, the blade inside, so you don't actually get to touch the bottom with a blade, you know what I mean? But you get to, it's clean, you know, grind your stuff, and it's better for your kidneys. That's all I gotta say to you. It's a smart thing to do. It's a little nothing to invest into your health if you have a problem with the kidneys. It's going to do you really, really, really good. It was proven by the physicians who watch this stuff once they learned on me that this is actually beneficial for the kidney patients. And it's also beneficial for the people who have a problem with the colon, with intestines, because oats, it helps to clean the intestines, and it helps to digest properly your, a food. What can I say? I wanted to clarify this. She couldn't even stand the sight of my having food grinded, basically this oats, grinded with a blender. She couldn't even stand that. That would be okay, this kind of stuff, but that was not okay. And you can see they fucking scratched the fuck out of it, and it's all rusty, nasty shit. This is how they were doing the stuff. I never fucking use that stuff. That's the most disgusting stuff that can be. It's gonna have to wait for some more for me to use it. Incredible stuff. My father behaved extremely wrong, extremely criminal, but you should see my mother, how she treated my father during MK Ultra. I mean, this was like in a military. She demanded to be seen as some kind of police officer, like the police officer you would have inside of the gulag, where they would throw you into a gulag and then you would have a police officer policing you, basically. That's exactly the type of attitude she maintained during MK Ultra, in the father's face and also in my face. It was a sorry ass attitude also. that she added to all this attitude known as feel sorry for me by exempling all kinds of throwing on the floor gloves and all kinds of like a bye-bye and so on. They demanded from me to read the language of stupid shit. You would throw something on the floors symbolically to remind of abuse, feel sorry for me, whatever, or what you have done, etc., 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 this kind of stuff. Total lunacy. Asylum, truly asylum on open. They turned this home into asylum on open, literally. Not only the police, but the man here that you see, that's a psychiatrist, Peter Kapsch. I noticed during MK Ultra, especially inside of the room where they have the father now, and this was also the room where they tortured me. They have multiple rooms, but this was the main room where they physically tortured me, and where they also kept father inside. Whenever I was not tortured, it would be the father who would be inside. When I was tortured, father would come to visit me. When father was inside, I was delivered to the father to be tortured. Here's this animal here, psychiater Peter Kapsch, who really interestingly, had a whole lot to tell about the father, claiming me together with Andrei Stefanich, the funny man from the police station Novo Mesto, about how he caught father on multiple occasions doing bad stuff to me, that if he would have listened to father, that I would be a long time ago already killed and so on. He portrayed himself in my eyes, he tried to portray himself in my eyes as somebody who is collecting proofs against my father, against my family on my behalf. This was the psychology that police, the psychiatrists had enforced throughout this MK Ultra process. That's how they do that stuff. And they were doing exactly identical stuff to my father, and I did explain to you about the mother. A mother have seen herself, unfortunately for her, so much in police that she crossed that insane red line, totally in the area of truly somebody who had... I am going to stop here because I don't actually imagine myself turning against my family members for the sake of the police, for the sake of Milan Kuchan, for the sake of the politicians, as how they demanded from her to see herself in this, insisting her that I am insane, and using the father to example her case of the real lunacy. My father definitely was insane. He was definitely insane. He had all the characteristics. Violence, irrational blames, all kinds of stuff that clearly pointed out that mentally this man was not uravnovešen, I don't know how you say that, but stable. And in this, through this madness, through this torture, they pushed me inside, obviously pointing out to my mother that is the best to get rid of him and me. They were portraying me through the use of MK Ultra in my mother's eyes, a threat to her, a danger to her. Best to get rid of me. And then there was this main picture in my mother's eyes, and that was my niece, Urshka Golob-Weber, who demanded me deleted from the picture, together with my sister, unfortunately so. It was about the money. It was about who will get what and so on. This is the niece who already was grooming me for some kind of institution in Slovenia where I would spend the rest of my life, rather than being out on the street, locked in some home for elderly people, or maybe even psychiatric hospital, wherever they had me, and presented that issue to me as option that is even acceptable to me. And we're making that option acceptable in my eyes through extreme forms of torture. They engineer extreme forms of torture at multiple locations and demanded from me to choose location and suggested that this is the niece that she pick up for you. And obviously the least violent. That's how this animal here was doing the job for Milan Kucan, and vice versa. Milan Kucan did enormously for this man. Huh? Robert Golob have with Borut Pahor, Milan Kucan laugh about these issues. They came up with, and it's true, it is true. Robert Golob Robert Golob gesture during MK Ultra. Americans invented the healthcare that is extremely expensive healthcare, not affordable to most of the people. Americans even pride themselves what exactly the country can be without the healthcare. Robert Golob laughed at the Americans, and he stated, that's what Americans invented. That's what Robert Golob, those are the words of doctor. He's a doctor, Robert Golob, to me. Oh, he is a big defender of the animal, I see. See? He's a big defender of he's very concerned for the animals, you see. Friendly to animals. He cut the hair, though. I see that he cut the hair, that he doesn't look like anymore like... He also prided himself with the hair that was like this. He loved this kind of stuff like that. He stated to me, we Slovenians have invented better than Americans. And what he did was he exampled me with my case, which my mother always was paying the health insurance for me, which is, I don't know, 20, 30, 15 euros per month. It's a very low insurance rate when compared to American insurance rates. And he was laughing at my face, gesturing me. We invented more, better. We had people paying for the health insurance, and they don't get any kind of health insurance. Laughing in my face, you know what I mean? In other words, we poison you with health insurance even that you have. You cannot make it to physician the way normal people do. So we collect the money for the health insurance that doesn't exist. It actually exists only to portray you as mentally ill, as somebody who simply did not go to the physicians to check yourself. That's a doctor. That's what you call a doctor, Robert Golob, you see? So he was proud about Slovenes, about the Slovenian, that they invented a better option than Americans, where they have no health insurance. Dr. Robert Golob. For me to almost have forgotten to finish. The funny man, the funny guy, Štefanić, Andrej Štefanić was the one who started at the police station where I came to complain about MK Ultra, about the mistreatment, about the police violence when I appeared there for the first time to submit complaint about MK Ultra against director of Novo Mesto police station, Igor Juršić, as well as against the entire Novo Mesto police station. He was the one who insisted that demanded from me to describe what exactly I have seen inside of the lobby where the police officers, he claimed, interacted with me telepathically. He did not put the words telepathically. I even challenged one when he suggested me that they communicated with me without talking. I even suggested to him that such a thing does not exist. And I don't know how I say, repeated him what MK Ultra is, brainwash that was done based on prior brainwash. They were coming to give me submental signs. Submental signs are obviously not telepathy. Somebody should explain this cretin with a baton in his hands, because what the funny man Stefanich was doing at the police station with me is he knew all this stuff. He was just bullying. He was just harassing. That's what he was doing. The day when I came complain again, after he took enormous, I'm not going to say advantage, but just how long it took for me to be invited to the police station on a hearing with him, during which he did not even present me video recordings or anything, any kind of evidence. Yet it was stated inside of the letter of Sonia Bresnik, obviously with Miran Sudin giving her report about my relating myself to the telepathy issues. These are not telepathy issues, and I never had anything to do with the telepathy. I never ever communicated with absolutely anybody subconsciously, nor did I read the mind to anybody. And so, very, very, very important stuff to explain about who was talking about the telepathy and who was doing what during MK Ultra. The Stefanich, Andrei Stefanich, the funny man Stefanich,